This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. So yesterday, I was reading a story about a woman who filed a lawsuit against Norwich University for retaliation and discrimination. And this piqued my interest because, as many of you know, I went through a horrific experience in corporate America where I was retaliated on for being a whistleblower, and I'm always interested in reading about other women who go through similar experiences to see how they navigate through the system. So I came across this article about a lawsuit that was being raised against Norwich University in April of 2024. So to give you a high level of what this case is about is that Norwich University was slapped with a civil lawsuit in April of 2024, accusing the school's former president and another top official of employment discrimination. Now, this lawsuit that was filed in the Washington County Court in Vermont was brought by a woman named Elizabeth Kennedy, a 13-year employee who worked mostly as the private military school's vice president of development and alumni relations. In this report, or in this filing, it says Kennedy repeatedly blew the whistle on her boss, former Norwich president Mark Anarumo, for years of misconduct and creating a sex-based discriminatory employment condition. This lawsuit also alleges that Mark Anarumo regularly engaged in inappropriate sexual behavior, made inappropriate sexual comments, and otherwise directed inappropriate verbal and physical treatment toward particularly women. Elizabeth Kennedy also accused a man by the name of David Whaley, the predecessor in her job, of making sexist and offensive comments reflecting his biased views about women in the workplace. So at high level, this is what was filed back in April 2024, and this was the actual filing that was included in the local media. So I took some time to read through it, and as it says here, it was a hostile work environment under this president Anarumo. Bullet number 23 says, from the beginning, President Anarumo's tenure was marked by scandal. Upon information and belief, Norwich was well aware of President Anarumo's problematic behavior and failed to act on it for years, subjecting Ms. Kennedy and many others to significant harm at his hands and allowing a hostile and discriminatory work environment. Goes on to say, in particular, during his tenure, President Anarumo regularly engaged in inappropriate sexual behavior, made inappropriate sexual comments, and otherwise directed inappropriate verbal and physical treatment towards women. Sometimes this stereotyping and harassing behavior was directed towards Ms. Kennedy. Other times, she witnessed it happening to others, or she heard of other women witnessing or being subjected to such behavior by President Anarumo. Interestingly enough, Mark Anarumo earlier this year, back in January, stepped down as president for violating the core guiding values and policies of this university. He resigned on January 4th, of which the Board of Trustees had accepted his resignation. Now, of course, Mark Anarumo is denying that his conduct with Ms. Kennedy is related to him stepping down, but it does look kind of suspicious. Anyhow, as I'm going through this document and I get to bullet number 29, it says here, President Anarumo routinely made sexualized comments and engaged in inappropriate sexual behavior and innuendo in front of students, alumni, teachers, Ms. Kennedy, and other employees. While working under President Anarumo, Ms. Kennedy observed him on multiple occasions discussing overtly sexual topics with young Norwich alumni. As it says later here, during a trip to Georgia, Ms. Kennedy was present and witnessed him telling two young alumni that he once had sex with Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. Ms. Kennedy heard him make this claim repeatedly to audiences in various work settings. So if you're reading this and you know nothing about Meghan Markle, but only what is out there in the media, you would think either this woman is making stories up, or two, this guy Mark Anarumo is just making up stories to make him look like some kind of stud. Besides, when would Meghan have slept with a guy who is the president of a university based in Vermont? So naturally, I began to dig, starting off with learning about Mark Anarumo. Who is this guy? So apparently, Mark Anarumo is a retired colonel who, according to the United States Air Force Academy, he is a permanent professor and department head for the Center for Character and Leadership Development for the U.S. Air Force Academy. Now, this center is responsible for providing leadership, honor, and character education. But here's the interesting thing. This is the organization or division of the U.S. military that Harry signed this Better Up contract with and providing leadership coaching licenses to. So the question becomes, did Meghan sleep with this guy in order to help Harry get this contract? Anything is possible at this point, but do I think that Meghan slept with this guy to help Harry get this contract? No. But do I believe that Meghan slept with this guy? Yeah, I do. The big question is when. So as I continue to look at this guy's profile, it states that he was stationed in 2014 at the Incirlik Air Base in Turkey. Well, isn't this a small world? You know who else showed up at that air base in Turkey? Miss Meghan Markle for the USO holiday tour. And there she is on the Incirlik Air Base website. Now, looking through the photos, it appears that there Mark is standing right there looking at Meghan. So could she have had a one-nighter with him? Absolutely. Meghan had to stay overnight at that base before they went over to Afghanistan. So did she service the men? I would think so. What really gives me the about Meghan is that a couple days prior, she was with Corey down in Miami living it up. And then after when Meghan came back from spreading her legs and servicing these men, she then spent Christmas with Corey. So going back to this court case, do I believe that it happened? Oh yeah, 100%. And here's the interesting part about this court case. So when I went to go look up the actual case itself in the respective databases, it's nowhere to be found. So I am wondering if this woman got paid off and made to go away and be quiet. Something tells me that that actually happened because only this filing exists and it doesn't show up in any database. So the big question of the day here is, was this case removed quietly and this woman, Elizabeth Kennedy, paid off? Because if this indeed was a filing, which was reported all throughout Vermont local news and linked to this document, then you would think that there would be a record or a trail in the official database, but there's no such thing. If this was filed with the court, the public would be able to see the progress of this case, but there's no such thing. So who had the power to go ahead and remove it? Was it the lawyers? Was it Mark Anarumo? Did he pull some strings with the government to get it pulled and Elizabeth quietly got paid off? Or was Meghan Markle involved? Interesting that no one picked up that she was named in this lawsuit. In fact, one of the local reporters that reported on this back in April didn't even name her. It just said famous international celebrity. Now, it's really interesting that of all the reporting that was done on this, particularly in the local sphere, because this didn't really hit the mainstream media from a global or national perspective. In those articles and reporting, Meghan Markle's name was never mentioned. So the question is, why didn't they put it in there? Is it because they know that Meghan and Harry are nasty little fictitious litigators? I think that could be part of it. According to the hot, juicy goss and tea that's being spilt by Einstein Evans on X, he writes, "Hot gist. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are coming for the U.S. press for what they call an unfair and false presentation of them. The word used is false light. My informant says they are frustrated and feel like everything they do is reported with a bit of slight. What broke the proverbial camel's back, I'm told, was in part the issue with the Archewell Fugazi Public Charity deficiency, the jams, and recently the Pat Tillman Award. Twice, they've reached out for legal counsel on how to proceed against some U.S. reporters, bloggers, and news outlets. There is a sense of real frustration, particularly surrounding Invictus Games. Harry thinks the only positively good thing left he has got, and the press is refusing to highlight the work while bashing him constantly. My comment? Well, at least they're not blaming the British tabloid press this time around, right? Informant says, he thinks, the British tabloid influence also captures certain segments of the U.S. press. The catastrophic car chase backlash, for example, he thought Rupert Murdoch's influence on the New York Post and other media outlets made matters even worse. Me? Well, at least the royal family cannot be blamed this time around. His informant says, something tells me he wants to go back. Not to work or anything, but just to be in the security of the palace walls. Some days, he gives a defeated vibe, but like someone carrying on just because of his children. But you can tell he misses the old life a lot. Whew. This is absolutely breathtaking, if true. So, of course, no accountability, and it's everyone else's fault. So now let's go after the American media and American voices because they don't like us and our feelings are hurt. Well, Harry, facts really don't give a shit about your feelings, and you need to get used to it. If these rumors are true and these two miserable human beings are indeed speaking to lawyers about going after the American media as well as American voices online like mine and other YouTubers as well as TikTokers and bloggers, well, that's a hornet's nest he doesn't want to step on because one thing is certain in this country is our inalienable right for freedom of expression. And under the First Amendment, freedom of press is protected. So I'd like to see him try it because there is no doubt if they wage that war now onto the American media, they're not going to tolerate that for 1 second. And this guy is going to open up a Pandora's box that he doesn't want, especially surrounding this censorship industrial complex and the engagement that he has been having with our government. I think our government, once again, would be really interested in knowing how he knew about January 6th, as well as his little online terror group that have been threatening, doxing, harassing Americans. Yeah, I don't think Meghan and Harry are going to like it when those global headlines come out of having a British prince on U.S. soil undermining our Constitution and interfering with our government. No, I don't think they're going to want that. But try it, Harry. If you're that delusional, go ahead and try it because you can bet for each lawsuit that you execute against America, there will be 5 coming back at him. So go ahead and try it. The only reason why a lawyer would take this on is because they know they're guaranteed money. Whether they win or lose, they're going to get money. So go ahead, Harry, waste your money on more frivolous lawsuits and see what happens. And I believe the last part about this. Harry wants to run home and hide like a little coward because the things that he has been doing in the dark are finally now catching up with him. And we can see him unraveling in front of us. I don't think it's so much of not being liked by the world because, I mean, they're so delusional and in their own little bubble, unwilling to have any type of awareness. I think whatever shit that these two are in is most likely catching up to him, and he's not being protected anymore. Not by his family, nor I think the U.S. is going to be protecting him as a result of this Heritage Foundation visa issue. I do get this vibe or feeling that he is in a panic, all because of how the political landscape might be changing very soon in November, and he's going to have no pull, no say with any of those special people in our government that have been protecting him. Allegedly. Anyhow, what do you guys think? I think there's a lot of skeletons in both Meghan and Harry's closets that they are desperately trying to make sure doesn't get out. And that's why this IPP is so important. And that's why we're seeing some of the things that he's doing with solidifying himself as a valuable asset to America. No doubt by the end of July, I'm predicting that when they award the bid for Invictus 2027, it's going to go to, you guessed it, Washington, D.C. Not because they believe that they could really bring some value. It's all because of the money that's going to be made from this organization off these veterans. And I think, that in itself is gross. But let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
I was such a fraud.